Welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Producer Chris, once again, behind the scenes for today's show. We'll break down some more Cowboys-Giants talk. That's the main focal point with Week 1 just around the corner. We got a game tonight. NFL's back. Looking forward to it. I have nothing better to do with my life and certainly nothing more enjoyable within reason than watching Chiefs-Lions later tonight. But, of course, the Cowboys and the Giants play on Sunday Night Football. So who you got in that matchup? C for the Cowboys, G for the Giants. Get those in the comment section right now. Michael Paul says G. Anthony C. Dustin Rushing, I'll say G. Daniel Moriarty says C. Brian Gutierrez says C. Jerma Lovings. Dion. Let's see. Ezekiel J. Lone Wolf. Reality Cowboy. 450 gain. Bruno. Only Michael Paul says G. Everyone else is saying Cowboys. Oh my. Michael Paul is MG. It's the same profile picture. That explains why he's got the Giants. Changing names on us, Michael, like we're not going to catch on to it. Or a different person has adopted MG's profile picture and made it that, which would be even funnier there. Carlos Fernandez says C. Brian Perry says C. Freddie says C. Invented Beast says C. Keep the comments coming. C for the Cowboys and G for the Giants. We do have news today. Not only is Tyler Smith banged up, Tyron Smith is also injured. He was limited at practice today after an alleged minor ankle sprain, rolled the ankle, whatever terminology we want to use. I don't think it will prevent Tyron Smith from playing. Although, the last time Tyron Smith got hurt, it was like, the knee's fine, didn't do anything. Actually, his hamstring came off the bone. So, excuse me if I don't automatically believe the initial Cowboys injury report. I will be anxious about that. So, allegedly minor. I will emphasize use of allegedly when it comes to Cowboys injuries, just like we do accusations of crime, because it doesn't always turn out that way. So I will be anxious about Tyron Smith until we get to Friday and Mike says he's good to go and he practices fully. That is how I will feel better, because it's Tyron. The guy's made of glass. He is still really good when he's out there, but the reason why he took a pay cut is because he cannot stay healthy. So will Tyron and Tyler Smith both play in Week 1? I'm actually going to change the poll to make that both there because I had set the poll before the Tyron Smith injury. Will Tyron and Tyler Smith play in Week 1? New poll going in there right now. Y for yes, N for no. Hopefully that is fine. Hopefully they're both out there. I'm going to go 75% chance at least one is. I'm still probably a little bit more worried about Tyler from what we know because he did not practice again today, which, again, was expected. Ideally get some work in Friday or Saturday, but we will have to wait and see. So get the votes in. Y for yes, N for no. Lone Wolf has a super chat, by the way, we'll get to here momentarily. Someone says death, taxes, and a Tyron Smith injury. It is true. It absolutely is true, as I'm going to put on sub-only chat because we already have an Eagles fan in here. Again, I say to you, imagine being an Eagles fan on a Thursday, having nothing better to do than to go troll a Cowboys channel. Again, that is embarrassing. Get a life. All right, Lone Wolf, a $2 super chat. Don't you normally go live on Mondays? Yes, we do normally go live on Mondays. That was the previous schedule. This year, we're going live on both Mondays and Thursdays, plus 4 games. In the event the game is on Thursday or it's on Monday, we'll then push the schedule back a day. And then I also won't have a live show on the Sunday the Cowboys are off. So we will be live twice a week for you guys. So keep the super chats coming so we can afford to do so. Let's get some score predictions in here for the Cowboys against the Giants. I will give some shout-outs here from that perspective. Woven Peachy says it's probably minor since he still practiced but was limited to no. Normally what that means is player went from not on the injury report to on the injury report. Injury happened in practice, and then he left practice, and that's why they're limited. Not always, but normally that's what happened because he was out there, then he wasn't. So limited is the only actual designation that can apply there. And if you don't follow the injury reports, you actually do get penalized, even if just fines by the NFL. I see 27-23, 29-25, 17-10, sloppy game. I do lean more towards a sloppy game. I think we'll see a lot of sloppy play tonight, by the way, in Chiefs-Lions, but that's okay. 42-20, 29-25, 35-10, 42-18. Oh, how I wish. I would love 42-18. I just want to get out of here with a win. 69-0 from the great Duke Bothers. As DeLunatic coming through. A $2 super chat says F. Marshy and Downey turnovers. Dallas 24, Giants 16. They would cover the spread. I would have no complaints about that one. I'm sure we'll find a way to complain, but you win every game 24-16. Aren't we all happy? Isn't that the goal? Give me out of week one with a win. Early season tough schedule. $2 more from Lone Wolf says, cool. Thanks for the content. Thank you for watching and supporting us here at Lone Wolf. I really do appreciate that, my friend. All right, we'll come back to the Chris B. Super Chat here in a second. But first, what's the better coaching staff? DAL for the Cowboys, NYG for the Giants. Very curious how you guys vote here. I would say I think the main reason, assuming your left side line isn't all out, I think the number one reason why you potentially lose this game is because you get outcoached. I think Brian Dable, I think Don Martindale, I think Mike Kafka is one of the better trios in the entire NFL when it comes to coaching staffs. Not that Dallas is bad necessarily, but I think Kafka's a great offensive mind. I think Brian Dable's a great offensive mind. I think Dan Quinn's better than Don Wink Martindale, but you're talking like, top 3 coordinator versus top 5-ish coordinator. It's a good group in New York. I am more than happy to give them credit where it's due from that perspective. No, maybe not a huge surprise here. Great Duke Bothers says NYG, just being real. Ryan J, D-Roku, Ethan, Jerma, all spamming in their DALs in the comments section. Pastor Rubbit says Wink Martindale isn't great. People just like saying his name. That's funny. I like that. When the blitz gets home, it works. When it doesn't, it's bad. Good thing your quarterback's pretty damn good against the blitz historically. Sherilyn Foote says DAL. Dustin Rushing says DAL. Mostly Cowboys votes coming in there. Chris B, $2 super chat. If both Smiths don't play, sheesh, gonna be rough. Yeah. You're starting some combination of Awesome Richards, TJ Bass, and Chuma Adoga, who didn't play in the preseason at all and has played like one game the past 2 years. So, yeah, it's kind of concerning. Hope they're both out there. Giants have a really good front. That's not a great match. If you could very well be playing a 5th-round rookie and a UDFA at left tackle, left guard. It's kind of spooky. All right, from the great Duke Bothers, I just want to say football is finally back. Go Cowboys. I completely agree, my friend. It's nice to have football, NFL football. I love college football, but it's better when they are both back. A $2 super chat now from Anthony Smith. So 2 claps for Anthony. I'm ready to see Parsons do some work. 2 sacks. That'd be great. I'm not going to always chase the sack number in and of itself. I'd rather have 1 sack and a bunch of pressures and hurries on 3rd downs than, 2 sacks and 3 total pressures. But if we're just going with sacks means good game, then yeah, I think DeMarcus Lawrence will have himself a big game because he always has a big game against the Giants. Chris B, $2 super chat. Is it supposed to rain during the game? Early forecast says rain. I have also come to learn that in many cases, projecting the weather 3 days out isn't the way you want to do it because it's the weather, and weathermen are always wrong. A first-time super chat from Hunya. 2 claps from Hunya. Any nerves around Big Mike calling the plays? Whenever there's change in an NFL room, whether it's roster or coaching staff, I think there always is some level of anxiety. I'm not saying it's like the worst hire ever, but you have had overall, despite some inconsistencies, a really good offense when it was Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott. You added Brandon Cooks. Personnel-wise, if your O-line's healthy, it should be better. So the only thing that would be complicated or would have issues from that perspective would be figuring out if Mike McCarthy's the guy or not as a play caller. If he still has the juice, so to speak, it could potentially. That's the only change. Might be your reason from that perspective. So, cheers to you, my friend. I do appreciate that. Now, if you want the Cowboys to beat the Giants, then like the stream right now. We are not even to 100 likes. That is a very disappointing perspective from that angle. So I would like it if we found a way to get there right now. So like the video, let's get to at least 100 likes here on today's show. We got 75 likes with over 400 people watching. The goal is always 50%. We're not asking for 50% right now, although it'd be great if we get there. Let's at least get to 25%. Let's get to that 100 like number right now. We're at 93 at the moment. 96. I think we're going to get there. I'm not going to wait. There it is. There it is. All right, from Jeremy Chugs' burner account, $5 with, I believe that's Brett Maher in Vietnam. So it's Brett Maher PTSD. That's an iconic photo right there. Does Daniel Penny surpass 18 pass touchdowns this year? Also, if Tyron or Tyler miss significant time this year, my Timbers will be shivered. I do think Daniel Jones has more than 18 passing touchdowns this year. That's not that high of a number. I think he can easily get to 24, which is a pretty normal number for even a lower-ish number if he plays every game there. From Joshu, I know this isn't the Cowboys question, but I need help on a bet. Would you pick Saquon or McCaffrey to have at least one touchdown or Gibbs having 4 catches? Give me the over on Jahmyr Gibbs. I believe it's set at 3.5. I'm actually going to take that as a prop bet myself tonight. DeAndre Swift averaged about, I think it was 3 last year. And I think they're going to use Gibbs even more. So I would absolutely lean towards Gibbs having the over 3.5 catches there. Here's what's coming up on today's live show. The latest Cowboys news and rumors, plus some contract extension talk for several players, CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott among them, a Cowboys mailbag as well, and we will have another different version of a Cowboys-Giants preview, some key matchups, top players to watch as well. All that coming up live right here on the Cowboys Report. We will be live for the Cowboys vs. Giants Sunday night football matchup. We'll be live an hour before kickoff, so 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:20 p.m. Central Time if you live in the Texas area. Make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss our awesome watch party. It's going to be a blast this year, I promise you. All right, to the injury report we go. Thursdays is in, and there's been some developments. First up, we'll go more on this in a moment. Tyler Smith did not practice again. We'll see about Sunday. Sam Williams, the good news here, upgraded to limited. He is battling turf toe, got an unlimited rep on Thursday. I feel much better about him playing on Sunday. Donovan Wilson did not practice with his calf issue, but he also wasn't there. Dono was out to be present for the birth of his son or his child. So good news on Dono. We'll know more Friday. And the concerning development, Tyron Smith, who was fine on Wednesday, popped up on the injury report on Thursday with a limited designation. Now, what it appears happened is that Tyron Smith rolled the ankle. The initial word from the Cowboys is this is a minor injury, and he should still be good to play in Week 1. And I do want to believe that. I also know that Tyron Smith is kind of made of glass these days. And the last time Tyron Smith got hurt in a practice, the Cowboys were like, he's okay, the knee's fine, didn't tear the ACL, whatever. A few hours later, the hamstring came off the bone. So I will have some hesitation and some anxiety until we get to Friday and it says Tyron Smith full or even just Tyron Smith limited and Mike says he's fine and we can all actually exhale because it's the Cowboys. Sometimes the initial word isn't always the most accurate one, which is that's how injuries tend to work. Now back to Tyler Smith here because both Ty Smiths are banged up because of course it is. The Cowboys are going to try to get him to play. They are not going to jeopardize the longer season for one game, but he does need to show he can practice. Maybe not on Friday, but even on Saturday, their walkthrough practice day. McCarthy said this at his press conference earlier today. He says he feels really good. He's very optimistic. If he practices Saturday, we'll give him a chance to go. But he has to practice. So we'll give him every opportunity to do that. Some more thoughts on this still to come. But prediction time. Do you think Tyron Smith and Tyler Smith will play in Week 1 against the Giants? Y for yes, N for no. It'll be today's pinned comment. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. If one of your Smiths can't go, it's some combination of Chuma Adoga, who we haven't really seen because he was hurt through the preseason, Awesome Richards, TJ Bass, both of whom played pretty well in the preseason, but Matt Lutz goes on IR. Your potential cue here, beyond like the Saturday injury report, is that practice squad elevations must be known by that time frame. So if you see Brock Hoffman or maybe just Earl Bostic or whatever, you're going to get to 8 offensive linemen somehow. If you see 1 or 2 linemen called up to the game day roster, which I don't think was their plan initially this week, maybe that means there's some concern about one of your Smiths playing. So that'll be a key indication what the practice squad call-ups look like, which I think are going to be announced on Saturday. And hopefully that these guys can play. And to a certain extent, it's kind of like, hey, Cowboys, how long have you been saying, are there any good offensive linemen out there? How long have we been talking about, hey, you should probably find some more O-linemen? Well, now they're banged up again. You know, we knew Tyron was going to get hurt at some point. We didn't think Tyler would get hurt. Hopefully they're okay, and we get to Sunday night, and it's like, it's fine. They're healthy. No concerns. It was all much ado over nothing from that perspective. But I am anxious about your offensive line injuries because nothing can sink an offense faster beyond, the obvious quarterback injury than offensive line issues. That impacts every snap that you have. At least with the running game, it isn't necessarily directly impacted by the quarterback, although the level of quarterback impacts the defense's fear of the run game and how much you put in the box, etc. But if the O-line's bad, it's tough. Having a bad offensive lineman out there can really sink an offense. So hopefully, they're all okay. Also probably worth monitoring how the lines adjust for this Cowboys-Giants game. If it suddenly drops from the current spread to more closer to the Giants being favored or closer to a pick'em, probably means Vegas is worried about the offensive line. You can follow the odds and bet on them at chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code Cowboys125 for 125% deposit bonus. That's $100 down minimum to get that deposit bonus. You can bet on the games. You can still take some division odds before the games get going. Eagles -130, the betting favorites again this year. The Cowboys +175. The Giants +800. They're, of course, playing the Cowboys Week 1. And the Commanders way down there at +1,200. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code Cowboys125 for 125% deposit bonus when you put down at least $100. A positive news item here. You knew I was going to talk about it, right? Deuce Vaughn winning the MVP. That's the Nickelodeon most valuable player for the preseason. Got slimed at practice the other day. Kind of a fun little development for the Cowboys' young rookie running back. Look, Vaughn was productive in only 2 games this year in the preseason. Clearly showed he belongs in the NFL. At one point had I think it was 12 carries or 11 carries for closer to 70 yards. Then, the offensive line wasn't very good in some of the fourth quarter preseason there. So that's kind of interesting from that perspective. I am optimistic that Deuce Vaughn's going to have a somewhat sizable role. Not quite as much of a role as I tend to joke about on Twitter, where I continue to shitpost there. But I do think he's going to have a big game or a big season relative to expectations for a 6th-round draft pick. He's your RB3 right now. And I think if the Cowboys are smart, they will find a way to get him the ball even just 5-ish times a game. Tony Pollard's not going to take every snap. Rico Dowdle's not going to get every backup snap. Deuce Vaughn might not be the greatest in pass protection, although he is willing in that area. But the Cowboys haven't been able to run a screen in years. Maybe Deuce Vaughn and Mike McCarthy can find a way to make that work. So are you on board the Deuce Vaughn hype train? 1 for yes, no. Head down to the comments section and let me know right now. I better see only ones in the comments right now. One more note on your kicker, Brandon Aubrey, one of the other sources of much hand-wringing for this Cowboys team this preseason training camp. Mike McCarthy once again backed his kicker entering week 1, saying, quote, at his press conference today, "The opinion of the kicker is, obviously, I don't think we see the same," talking to the reporters. "I have confidence in him. I don't worry about his ability. He's passed that test. He's high in that area. He just needs opportunities. I've been very impressed with Brandon. The talent is there. He reminds me of a young Mason Crosby. I hope he has the same start too. I feel good about him because he's an arsenal of kicks, which is important." Now, Aubrey did settle in after leaving Oxnard, where the wins weren't as chaotic as they can be. After Tristan Vizcaíno was cut, missed one long field goal, made another one, showed he has the leg strength for it, was pretty solid on extra points in both preseason games and in training camp practices. But those also weren't real games. Those are not real opportunities in the same way, I think that's what Mike's alluding to there, of, hey, go win the game. You're on the road. You're at MetLife Stadium. It's a tie game. You're down by 1. It's a 40-yard try with 5 seconds left. The offense got you into field goal range. Do you deliver? Do you make that kick? It's the playoffs. It's an extra point. Do you make it? Do you miss 5 in a row? That is what is going to determine the long-term impact of Brandon Aubrey. The Cowboys are giving him a shot. He is their guy right now. They have not overcommitted to him. If Aubrey's bad, if he struggles, they can move on. They can go sign, insert whatever kicker you want to find a way to acquire. So the Cowboys aren't committed fully to Brandon Aubrey, but he is their guy right now. And make no mistake, the ideal outcome is that he is the guy. And the Cowboys, like they got with Brett Maher up until the first preseason game, actually get really steady and solid results out of their kicker. If they don't, move on. Hopefully, we're not talking about searching for kickers again in late September, October, November, whenever. All right, who is your favorite player on the Cowboys? Current players only here. Get those comments in for me. I'm going to sip some of my water. Vinny, to answer your question, yes, I am. Micah Parsons. Mighty Ant said DAL. I think he meant Dak. Daniel Moriarty says Dak. Micah, Dak, Micah. I got a David Durden in there. A little IR, unfortunate, necessary IR stash there. Parsons, Stephon Gilmore, Trayvon Diggs, some Deuce Vaughn's in there. I love it. Leighton Vander Esch is in there. See some more Dak Prescott. Jaron Curse. Good. See Vinny's got Dak, CeeDee Lamb, Kevontae Turpin, Deuce, Lamb, Turpin. Let's see. Deuce Vaughn again. I love all the Deuce Vaughn love. I really do. All right, super chat time from Jacob Rodriguez. For Dallas, which side of the ball do you see starting off hot first? And in general, unless like one side of the ball is bad, I tend to lean towards defense. Because offenses can take a little bit longer and the sloppy play can be more impactful from that perspective. So I feel, because of Dan Quinn, I do feel more confident in the defense, where there hasn't really been much change there. You know, you've adjusted your D-line a little bit, but most of your key guys are back, and you've added Stephon Gilmore. So I'm going defense over offense from that perspective. From DeLunatic, more 12 personnel Sunday night and a Dono update. Wilson wasn't at practice today, so I don't know how close he would have been, if he would have been limited or not. We'll know more Friday there. He missed practice today because of birth of his child, so, pretty good reason. Mike was making some jokes about that in the press conference, by the way. He was like, maybe there's something in the water here, because there's been a couple of those that have missed practice of late. Pollard missed one earlier. I'm forgetting somebody else missed it too, but I don't think it was Gallup. It was somebody else. But Wilson had missed practice today there too. More 12 personnel, maybe. Biggest issue is you're going to put Schoonmaker or Hendershot out there, right? Are you going to sit Gallup or Cooks? Some, yes. A lot, I I think you're still going to live in 11. I think you should still live in 11 personnel. Aubrey, people say Dak can't elevate players around him. How do you explain Dalton Schultz and Cedric Wilson? I think put Noah Brown in that conversation too. And I'll take it one step further. Shouldn't Dak get some credit for Michael Gallup too? Gallup was a third-round pick. As a comparison, I'm after looking at the Arizona Cardinals throwing premium assets at receivers. Second-round picks on Rondale Moore, Andy Isabella, DeAndre Hopkins. They trade for Marquise Brown. That is a group, Trey McBride, Zach Ertz, haven't gotten the level of results you would want. They just spent a third on Michael Wilson again. So those are great examples of, hey, they actually have elevated players. Cedric Wilson got a bag from the Dolphins and spent 1 year there, had to take a pay cut. So I think that's a great example, Aubrey, of they are elevating players. Now, that's not to say that you're making a bad guy a superstar, but those guys did get some nice contracts. Seems noteworthy. $10 super chat from Grant Rainwater. Already have offensive line injury concerns. Don't they have to sign another key offensive line piece? Now, unfortunately, for week 1, it's too late. You're not going to be able to sign somebody, get them in the building, and get them good to play for week 1. Ooh, Marquise also mentioned that they resurrected Randall Cobb. Great point. Randall Cobb's had one good year like the past 8, and it was with the Dallas Cowboys. So that's a great example too. But if they miss week 1, if the other guys playing, they're not very good. Dalton Riser's out there. I know he's not great, but go look for something. Go trade for somebody. I don't feel confident in the offensive line depth, and I don't think really any of us are. It's tough to find good depth, especially in September, which is probably more of a failure of an August or even going back further than that, a April, May, June situation than it was anything else. Go sign Jason Peters if you need to. I know he's 41 years old, but he was fine last year. I think we'd feel better if he was your 6th than banking on a couple guys that we haven't really seen playing a real game. It's kind of where I'm at. All right, folks, grade the job the Cowboys have done this past offseason with kickoff for week 1 just a few days away. We're going to talk contract extension stuff here coming up in a minute, which could impact your grade. But so far, grade it for me. A, B, C, D, or F. Let's begin with where things sit on the Dak Prescott contract extension. Dak has this year and next year left on his contract with a giant 2024 cap hit. Now, worst comes to worst, the Cowboys can get that 2024 number, which is approaching $60 million, down significantly with a simple restructure. That would also push whatever money you save into 2025 as a void year. The simplest solution is to extend your quarterback, and Ian Rappaport of NFL Network had some very insightful information on where that sits as it relates to Prescott and the Cowboys contract talks. Saying, quote, this, asked about when a Dak deal extension could happen. He says, probably this offseason, meaning this upcoming one. I know there was some discussion about whether or not they would do a deal this past offseason. They just restructured and said, we'll deal with it next offseason. With all due respect to our show and everything we do, this shouldn't be news. Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know where he ranks, but his offense is really good. His team was really good last year and is going to be really good this year. He's their quarterback. Really, it's an accounting question of how you handle his huge cap hit next year and how do you make this make sense. I don't get the sense Dak is going anywhere. With all due respect to Trey Lance, who is still the number 3 QB, I don't think it has anything to do with him or Cooper Rush. Now, Ian ain't lying there. Everything Ian said was true. It would be nice to get the deal done earlier because Dak already has immense leverage over the Cowboys organization, which will only continue to grow when he's got a no tag and a no trade clause next year, entering the final year of his contract. But I am of the belief you should know what you have in Dak Prescott. We can get all worked up as we want over the interception numbers from last year, but if we are being objective and honest in our evaluation, acknowledging that it was way too many, if you just take away the ones, or even some of the ones that were clearly the wide receiver's fault, not the ones that maybe deep down the team will never admit because he's still there, that might have been on Michael Gallup because you ran the wrong route or something, etc., or Lamb admitted he ran some wrong routes as well. Take away just the ones that were only the receiver's fault, it's not a conversation. There's not much you can ask your quarterback to do differently when it's fourth and a couple of yards and you roll out and you find receiver under pressure, hits him right in the chest and he drops it and it's picked off. Like, happened multiple times last year. Not necessarily on fourth down, but it happened multiple times. That's not really the quarterback's fault. You've had an offense that has produced at a top 5 level when he's been healthy. No team in the NFL has averaged more points the past 3 years with their healthy quarterback than this one. The idea that he's not a franchise guy is frankly asinine. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I understand the sticker shock. I understand that he is shouldering the burden of the lack of playoff success this team has suffered through for pretty much my entire lifetime. I get all of that. If you want to go try to find and tank and bottom out, go find the next top 3 quarterback, which Prescott is not, okay. But don't sit there and tell me he's at worse than Daniel Jones. That's not based in reality. So what do you guys think? Do you want to keep Dak Prescott? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section right now at the pinned comment of today's video. Now, the highest paid quarterback numbers look like this. And depending on when you get the deal done, would potentially impact where Dak sits on this list. Right now, I don't think it would be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. In the scenario where the Cowboys finally get forward and finally make it to where they want to be and make it to an NFC Championship game or beyond, like, that could change it all of a sudden. Like, this would be as an example, a Joe Flacco situation where, hypothetically, if you make it really far in the postseason, well, I mean, what else are you going to do? Probably not give him the fully guaranteed Deshaun Watson contract, by the way. But the salary cap has gone up by $42 million in the last 2 seasons alone. It will continue to rise. So the inflation is insane, both in real life and in the NFL salary cap. Do remember that when you see the various numbers involved for any potential seasons, not just for Dak Prescott, but for CeeDee Lamb, which we will come back to here in a little bit. But first, today's show is made possible by Game Time. Make sure you're not overpaying for your tickets. With the Game Time guarantee, you will always get the best price on your tickets. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you for 110% of the difference. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. They've got killer deals on last-minute tickets, plus that best price guarantee, so you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you will have. Download the Game Time app by going to GameTime.co, creating an account, and using code CowboysChat for $20 off your first purchase. Head to the profile section once you create your account, and then click redeem code, input Cowboys Chat right there. They'll give you $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but create an account and redeem that code Cowboys Chat for $20 off. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets and the lowest price guaranteed. It's easy to find and buy tickets. And by the way, if you have that version right there, you click on your ticket, move your phone left to right. It'll actually show you what the view looks like as you move your phone, which I think is a fantastic feature of the app. Download the app today, GameTime.co, and get $20 off with code CowboysChat. Links in the comments section and the description of today's show. Let's move now to the CeeDee Lamb extension. Lamb has 2 years left on his deal, but I do wonder if he is waiting for Justin Jefferson to sign. Now, Jefferson's deal is going to be more than what CeeDee Lamb will get at the moment. That could always change if Lamb continues to wait. Here's what Jeremy Fowler reported recently. I think it was actually today, or maybe it was yesterday, one of the two, on the CeeDee Lamb extension talks. I'd be hard-pressed to believe Jefferson would take less than $30 million per year on any deal. Lamb faces a similar situation as a 2020 first-round pick. The Cowboys have extended key players like Terrence Steele, Trayvon Diggs, and Hooker this preseason, and would like to secure Lamb as well. But like Jefferson, Lamb seems to be in no rush. For both players, the price for their services could climb after another big year. Now, I thought this deal would be done. I thought this one might be a little bit easier, but if the player wants to wait, then it becomes more challenging, and you have 2 years of team control, so you're not in desperate straits. And I think at Lamb's contract cost, I don't know how much it really would rise unless he has a year better than Justin Jefferson does, which, you know what, I'm probably okay if that's the outcome. It's not a disaster that this deal is not done. It's only the first year able to do it. Make no mistake, I would like to get a CeeDee Lamb deal done before week 1. I would be very happy if the Cowboys made that happen, because I think it's only going to cost you a little bit more if you wait. I think CeeDee Lamb is a top 10, if not top 5 receiver in the NFL. I want to get that guy paid. Might not happen immediately, though. So who gets paid first? 88 for CeeDee Lamb, 4 for Dak Prescott. I do believe the Cowboys have to spend a little bit more cash before the start of the new league year next year. Paying one or both of those guys would actually help you reach the cash floor, which the Cowboys haven't quite met yet because the Joneses don't want to admit that they're very cheap. 88 for CeeDee Lamb, 4 for Dak. Go vote who gets paid first. Now, the highest paid receiver right now is Tyreek Hill, technically. The issue with the Hill deal is that his final year, the final year of the Tyreek Hill contract is kind of a fake year. It's not actually a void year like you see for so many players these days, but the final year carries a $45 million cash flow of a massive base salary, a roster bonus, and a workout bonus. So he's doing $45 million that year alone isn't actually reflective of what he's making the first 4 years. So $30 million is still a pretty big jump over Devontae Adams, which also becomes part of a trade, and Cooper Kupp. So that number is, that's what Jefferson wants, as he should get, by the way, but it is a little bit deceptive. And that's why maybe the receiver market's kind of slowed down a little bit. It's not just, by the way, Jefferson and Lamb do for new deals, but players like T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, who could be sign-and trade options potentially, could increase that floor number beyond that $25 million to approaching $30 million for CeeDee Lamb. Mike Evans, not going to get that number. He's doing a new deal. If Michael Pittman and or Calvin Ridley, wow, those guys could get, some big-time money as upcoming potential free agents, or at least franchise tag guys. Plus, you got Jamar Chase, not this year, but he'll be in Lamb's shoes that he is right now, next season. Now, Lamb was asked about his contracts, and as near as I can tell, much like Dak, Lamb's not involved. He's like, I'm going to let my agent, I pay an agent. He's going to do it for me. I've got a Super Bowl to win. I've got touchdowns to catch. That's it. I like that quote from Lamb. Although, get the deal done would be nice. Now, we will be live for Sunday Night Football. The Cowboys at the Giants, 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Will be live an hour before kickoff. So make sure you guys are subscribed. Do not miss out. YouTube.com/CowboysTV. Some more contract talks here. Tyler Biadasz, maybe a decent player to pay. I do wonder if we are beginning to witness the rise of a true Tyler Biadasz situation where he's gotten better each year. I think his attitude in a positive way has been cranked up one more notch. He's never going to be Travis Frederick, but starting caliber centers do not come available very often in free agency. And when they do, they get paid. We will leave Ryan Jensen on here for the purposes of the contract negotiations, but his career's over, unfortunately. Corey Linsley got the bag a few years ago. Jason Kelsey keeps getting 1-year high-paid deals. Mitch Morse is at $9 million. There's a tier gap there, folks. Ted Karras, Ethan Posick, Bradley Bozeman, $6 million. Mitch Morse at under 10. Then Eric McCoy. If Tyler Biadasz has another solid year, not even great, not even top 5 center, just like borderline top 10, he could easily command $12 million. Do you want to pay that? Well, do the Cowboys want to? Franchise tag, by the way, isn't really an option because it's offensive linemen grouped together. And you can tag him for $20 million. We'll keep an eye on Biadasz this season. Other pending free agents, obviously you cannot pay Tony Pollard. He's franchise tagged. He'll be eligible next year for a deal after the year ends. I do wonder about Tyron Smith's long-term status because he just can't stay healthy. He's old now. He's got 1 year left. Jaron Kearse, I'd love to keep him. I think he means a lot to the locker room, but I doubt they retain all three veterans of Kearse, Dorrance Armstrong, and Stephon Gilmore, who, remember, has 1 year left after the trade from the Colts. Football returns tonight, Thursday night football action. Who you got? DET for the Lions or KC for the Kansas City Chiefs? Sound off for me in the comments section. DET or KC? Give some shout outs here. No Chris Jones tonight for the Chiefs and probably maybe no Travis Kelce. We shall see. Pretty even split right now. A lot more DTs than I would have thought. A lot more. KC, DET, KC, Detroit, KC, Detroit, Kansas City, Detroit, Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City, Detroit, Kansas City, Kansas City, Kansas City, Detroit. Pretty even split. Maybe we should have made that the way in today. Who do you have, Producer Chris?
I'm riding that Detroit train.
You're on the Detroit train?
Yeah.
I'm still going to pick the Chiefs.
Hard Knocks really got me last year. Really got me hooked.
I think it's going to be a good game, but I've got the Chiefs. I wouldn't mind the Lions win, though. I always operate for like a Cowboys view, and maybe that is KC to win. That would just help potential wild card scenarios. But it's also week 1, so who cares that much?
I'd run through a wall for Dan Campbell.
Same.
I'd run through a wall.
Same. Cowboys legend Dan Campbell, by the way. All right, a super chat. A couple to get to, then we'll get to our mailbag. Ecuador man AOG, whose fault for the horrible INTs against San Francisco SMH? Well, the second one was, I think, unquestionably on Dak Prescott. The first one, again, I don't know if the Cowboys will ever admit it publicly. But I'm pretty sure internally, there's a lot more INTs that weren't actually on the quarterback that might have said, like that first one towards Gallup. Was it a great throw? No. Your receiver also has to run his route and come back to fight for the football. Like, it's a big reason why Fajoko's not here. He wasn't fighting for the football in practice, and the Cowboys were done with that shit. So, and by the way, I'm not excusing the Niners' performance. It's back-to-back years they've had your number, and the quarterback didn't play well, and if he played well, you would have won the football game, and we're all mad about that. But that's also not to put all of the blame on everything for your QB, and not that Ecuador man's doing this, but think that he's bad. I am with everyone saying we need more from this quarterback and from the team as well. I'm tired of losing before we get to the conference championship game. I think everyone is in that mold. But that doesn't mean it's just, cut him and find somebody else. No. Because I remember going through the Chad Hutchinson era. I remember Quincy Carter. I remember Drew Henson. I remember all those guys. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that again. You've been damn close for several years. I wouldn't change the Romo era either without a guarantee of it actually being different. You know? DeLunatic, that 6th round New York cornerback looks like the mark. Agree? Plus Micah, Sam, Tank equals 5.5 sacks. Dallas 24, Giants 16. That is Trey Hawkins III. Stay tuned, the Lunatic, for our preview. That is one of the matchups we'll be discussing, I promise you. From Chris B, wouldn't mind paying Dak, just not highest paid. I agree. I think maybe everyone agrees. I will devil's advocate does $5 million backload really matter? No, not really. But if the contract structure is normal, I don't think you have to make him the highest paid quarterback right now. I don't think that's what the market would be. You know? And I don't want to either. I think if you did it right now, I don't think that'd be the deal. Now, I will say this. I am willing to make Dak the highest paid quarterback if we win a Super Bowl this season. I think we all would be, right? Assuming Dak's the quarterback and it's not like some, Carson Wentz, Nick Foles chaos stuff with like Lance leading the way, right? Like that's at that point, like, yeah, let's. I will gladly, if it comes worst case scenario, I will Flacco myself if it gets me a Super Bowl. I think we all would. All right, now let's a reminder here. I meant to mention this too earlier. Mailbag coming up. Bunch of super chats. You can pick some of the ones that you like, some of the good ones, Chris. Generic questions. #Cowboys. If you get more super chats in during the mailbag, we will also hit that right now. We at the Cowboys Report have been doing more videos. Not quite 2 every day, but we're getting close to that number. If you've enjoyed that, help us out. Like the video right now so I can say, see, bosses, this is what the people want. Like the video for me right now. From Mark Clark, a $25 super thanks. Great point about the team being nonchalant about the offensive line depth all offseason. That actually came in, by the way, before the Tyron Smith injury. My point was like, we've been anxious all year about the Cowboys' offensive line depth, and then it's like, oh no, we lose a guy. Injuries happen. It's a concern we've had. They could have been more aggressive about it there. I appreciate that super thanks, Mark. Thank you very much. If you don't know what a super thanks is, allow me to explain. It's a new feature, new-ish feature on YouTube, not used by many. It allows you to donate outside of live videos. Click the thanks icon, send in your message, edit it, or just say thanks, and we will give you a shout-out. We appreciate your support here, everyone who does it on the Cowboys Report. Some super chats from last Monday's live show that did not make it in. We'll put them in today. Don Barry, what is likely Biadasz uses Deuce Vaughn against the Giants? If so, how? He'll play. He'll be active. I'd be shocked if he wasn't. I think you're looking at somewhere in the range of 5 to 7 touches in a normal close game, not a blowout, maybe even more. Close game, I think he'll be used. Third down back, catch some passes for you. He can also just be a change of pace guy. Pollard needs a breather. Dowdle got the last 2 runs. It's Deuce's turn. I think he will play. DJ G-Flow, the kicker situation still scares me. I get it. Not like, the tricky part is no one knew who Brandon Aubrey was before the season began. No one did. So that unknown adds to the anxiety. Hopefully, when we sit down Monday for our live show after the game, we're not bitching about a kicker not doing his job. From Samuel, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you with Mike's coaching over these last few years with him? And do you see him getting us to the promised land? I certainly hope so. I think there is still room for growth. I do not think it has been bad. It has been better than Jason Garrett. But like everything with this Cowboys team, every player, every position, especially the ones that have the most impact, quarterback, head coach, until you get to the promised land, the question is it enough? I don't know. I would love nothing more than for it to be an absolute yes this season. Great question to rate it from 1 to 10. I'll give it like an 7 or an 8. 1 or 2 spots shy of 10, 1 or 2 spots shy of making it to the championship game. I don't know. Rate the job Mike McCarthy has done. You guys vote for me at the pinned comments of today's show. So if an ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote, or go rate the job, that Mike McCarthy has done as the Cowboys head coach. Scale it 1 to 10. Anthony Smith, I am ready to see Parson do some work. 2 sacks. I would love 2 sacks. I think Tank Lawrence have a good game too. I'm also okay not getting sacks. For me, a sack and a pressure leading to a third down incompletion, a splash play, if you would, a drive-killing play, all those are the same to me. Now, sacks easily more tracked, but I think you'll see plenty of impact from Micah. Jeremy chugs his burner account. Does Daniel Penny surpass 18 touchdowns this year through the air? Also, if Tyron or Tyler miss significant time this year, my Timbers will be shivered. I think he does get to 18 plus. That's not that high of a bar to clear, frankly. And yes, I will be worried as well if the offensive line does not play well. Ajay Pawar, people say Dak can't elevate players around him. How do you explain Dalton Schultz, Cedric Wilson? I think some credits owed to Michael Gallup. or 4 Gallup, like that's a third-round pick. There's a lot more third-round pick receivers that don't work out that well compared to players who got a big-time second contract, although he has not been good since his ACL. Hopefully that changes this year. You can even throw in Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb's had one good year the past 8 was with the Dallas Cowboys. We will be live for the Cowboys-Giants Week 1 matchup, Sunday Night Football, live an hour before kickoff. So make sure you guys are subscribed, youtube.com/Cowboys TV. We will have full coverage of the game, start, finish, post game. Hit that sub button right now. From Sept, a.k.a. Rich Kaufman, if Gallup does not play like 2020, do you cut or keep from a money perspective? Let me make sure I get the exact numbers here. The Cowboys did restructure his deal, which saved money short term, makes tough to move on next year. You could save 9.5 post June 1st if you cut him. Now, you save less than $1 million if it's pre-June 1st, but it at least gives you the out there. Cap hit's not that bad, but if he's like bad, I'd strongly consider moving on. Hopefully, not a problem the Cowboys run into. Grant Rainwater, already have O-line injury concerns. Don't have to sign another key O-line piece. I'd love to. It's September. Something's wrong with Dalton Reisner. I don't know who your options would be. It's a big-time red flag. You kind of missed the boat around draft time if you wanted to get another key O-line piece. Maybe, hopefully, Richard Zerbasser or Chuma Edoga can be a good low-end starter for you if they have to play. Lone Wolf, fantasy advice, Herbert or Lamar? I go with Lamar. Also, if you have both those guys in like a non-daily fantasy league, you did not draft well. You should not have both those guys. I'll take Lamar over Herbert and probably trade one of them away to get a better other key position spot there. From Gigante, why is it NFL players that are good expect to be the highest paid at their position? Like people talk about resetting the market, but why does Cal really be paid like a Justin Jefferson? Well, it's not necessarily that like Ridley's going to get the biggest deal, but remember, the salary cap goes up every year. So when the salary cap has jumped by $42 million, if you are near the best at your position, I'd say like a Lamb is versus Jefferson probably makes more sense than Ridley versus Jefferson for this conversation. But when the cap jumps every year and the next guy gets a little bit more in a similar tier, that's how it tends to go. It's gone by $42 million. $25 million 2 years ago is very, very different than $25 million next year. That's just the cap keeps rising. The inflation is awesome for the NFL. Not great for us normal people, but that's a big reason why. When there's more cap, the salaries go up as well. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. I have a 2-year-old at home. I am not the best in general about planning things out, so if the wife and I are going to go to a game, which isn't really so much a Cowboys game, maybe more of a Rangers game or a baseball game or whatever, it's normally done last minute. That's why I love Game Time. They have killer deals on last-minute tickets and the Game Time guarantee, which means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you for 110% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can get images of your seat before you buy, and you can move the phone left to right to give you a good angle of like, okay, this is what's to my left, to right, the actual kind of like, almost like a live photo. It's a fantastic feature of the app. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds. 2 taps and you are set. When you use promo code CowboysChat, in the redeem code section of the app, just click tap profile once you create your account at gametime.co. When you use promo code CowboysChat, they will give you $20 off your first purchase. So snag tickets without the stress with Game Time. Terms do apply on that offer, but again, create an account, redeem the code at gametime.co. It's promo code CowboysChat for $20 off. Download Game Time today for last-minute tickets and the lowest price, all guaranteed. More mailbag questions from Patrick Hickman. Over, under, O-line will be intact week 4. It might not even be intact for week 1. I am going to speak some positivity into the world. Give me the over. From Lil Dallas Cowboy, Dak's last year. Check the contract. Cut him before the 5th league day if he has repeated the last 2 years. Save $35 million on the cap next year. Check the contract. I'm not cutting Dak. I'm not. I don't think that makes sense. If you want to blow it up and rebuild, you can find a trade partner. You have to get Dak's approval. I think in that scenario, he'd probably say, fine, let's move on there. If this is how you're going to treat me, I'll go somewhere I'm actually appreciated. Dak has not been bad the last 2 years. He objectively has not been. We need him to be better, but we have to stop treating Dak Prescott like he's worse than Derek Carr. That he's like Jameis Winston or something, when he's not the top 10 quarterback. I think it is easier, not saying it's easy, I think it is easier to try to add more talent at other positions around your top 10 quarterback than saying, I don't want this top 10 quarterback. Let me go get a different top 10 quarterback. Try to find one else. I think a lot of people would have been like, if you had to trade the pick for the number 2 pick a few seasons ago, we'd be like, oh man, we could get Zach Wilson. We can get Trey Lance or Mac Jones. You guys are not better than Dak. Justin Fields could maybe be better than Dak, but he's not right now. One quarterback from that draft class is better than Trevor Lawrence. It is not easy to replace your quarterback when you've actually been really good. Just not quite good enough. From Ben Smith, oh boy. If the Rams are bad, would you trade a first for Aaron Donald? Can I trade all of my seconds instead since I can't draft with that spot anyway? That's what I would do. I don't know if the Rams would do it. I don't know if Jerry would do it, but damn, wouldn't it be fun? All right, name a player who you want to trade for. Keep it somewhat realistic, so even though I would move heaven and earth and do terrible things that would put me to hell to get Patrick Mahomes, that's not realistic. Name a player you guys want to trade for. Jeremy chugs his burner account. If Tyron or Tyler miss serious time, my faith in the Cowboys dips significantly. Can't say I blame you. All of a sudden it turns into, hey, we've got Chuma Edoga, Austin Richardson, Sebastian. You're due to hit on a later round non-center lineman at some point. Be nice that ends up happening this week. From Lone Wolf, funny enough, that league only has 8 people total, so our teams are stacked. Now it makes more sense. Okay, that's now I see how you got Lamar and Herbert because I'm sure the quarterbacks all went pretty late there. I'll still play Lamar. I think the running ability makes it worthwhile. Jeremy chugs his burner. We need a weekly BetUS parlay. #ad, #BabyMaker. I did do one for Chat Sports NFL Daily. I'll tweet it out, though, Jeremy chugs burner. I will tweet out my weekly parlay. I do have one picked and locked in. Yes, it includes the Cowboys. Chris B. The Rams are bad. Trade a second for Kupp if healthy and Michael Gallup is bad. I think the issue there is that I don't know if Kupp's going to be healthy. He's kind of old, by the way. That hamstring's not right. It's kind of spooky in terms of Kupp. But in that scenario, yeah, I would actually probably be down there. DeLunatic. Even baby Olivia knows D4K, that's Dak, owns the Giants. Cowboys 24, Giants 16. Baby Olivia will not be making an appearance on Sunday. Game's at 8:20 Eastern. It's bedtime. So she's not going to be there for week 1. She'll make some appearances throughout the season, though. Trenton, O-line going to be the reason the Cowboys lose. If your starters aren't out there, I'm not super confident in that depth. Kevin Riley, will Kevontae Turpin play on offense against the Giants? I think some. How much he plays, I'm not entirely sure of at this point. Predict the score for me of the Cowboys against the Giants. Get your predictions in. You already saw some in the mailbag, by the way. Get your score predictions in for me right now. Mark is back. Trade for any decent O-lineman. I am surprised no O-lineman got released for salary cap reasons. St. Mary's Catholic School for Girls has better linemen. That is quite the burn from Mark. O-line plays bad in the NFL, but I would have hoped the Cowboys would have done something beyond banking on a fifth-round rookie and a UDFA and a guy that missed the entire preseason. That does make me at least a little bit anxious in light of the Tyler Smith and Tyron Smith allegedly minor injuries from that perspective. So prediction time. It's the pin poll right now as well, folks. Will Tyron and Tyler Smith play in week 1? Y for yes, N for no. I'll give some shouts as I sip some of my water here. Oh, 68% say yes, but more no's. Seabass says no in the comments. Marshall, not Marshall Green, the cool Marshall, says yes. Sack77 says yes. Hallelujah says yes. It's a fun name. Ethan says no. Ecuador Man says no. Joe Linden says yes. Little Dallas Cowboy says not both. At this point, give me at least one, right? It's kind of concerning if it's not. Wes says yes. Danelle says yes. Daniel says yes. Joe says yes too. Mark, realize our second round tight end's third string, pathetic. And that's what it was on the Cowboys depth chart. I'm not sure he actually is, but he's not your starter. And if I had to pick a backup tight end or a backup guard, wouldn't we be picking the guard right about now? Hindsight, sure, but Chris B, going to have to the ball quick if they don't play. That is the West Coast staple offense, though. See a lot of slant flats, which I'm curious how we'll talk about this more in depth. How does Martindale, the Giants DC, adjust for that? Like, you can have some disaster plays if you can trick your quarterback, which doesn't happen that much, but it does happen in the NFL. The slant flat's going to be, read left side of the field, read one side. If it's not there, get rid of it. Slant flats is going to replace your curl route, which is a positive thing as far as I'm concerned. I don't know if it's really what you want to do, but, better than what you had. Chris B, is it crazy I'd rather have Tyler than Tyron? I don't think so. Prime Tyron, yes, you are crazy, but he ain't prime Tyron. And I do think in a more quick strike passing offense, you need your interior O-line to be good. And Tyler's younger, so you want him long-term healthy too. Mark, if both are out, Dak better be Dan Marino this game. Mark's not wrong. I think all of our confidence is shaken. Allegedly, Tyron's going to be fine, but we shall see. But our confidence, understandably, would be shaken if it's some combination of TJ Bass and Chuma Adoga and Awesome Richards out there. It's not great as an offense. It's just not great as an offensive line. So we'll see what happens on Sunday Night Football. It is Cowboys-Giants this week, and we are in a sub-battle against the Giants Now channel here at Chat Sports. We are losing. We do have a nice number. 169 is super nice, but it's behind the Giants 300. So let's get caught up before kickoff, which we will be live an hour in advance for. Cowboys at Giants, Sunday Night Football, the first real watch party of the season. It is going to be awesome. Make sure you guys are subscribed so you don't miss out, as we have another version of our preview of the Cowboys-Giants Week 1 matchup. We're going to begin with top 5 matchups to watch in this one. Number 1, the left side of your offensive line versus the Giants' defensive line. The Cowboys have allegedly minor injuries going on right now. The first one was Tyler Smith. As we sit here filming this, his status for Week 1 remains uncertain as he battles through a hamstring strain. Now, we're filming this before Friday's practice is official, so we'll have to wait and see what the practice report, injury report looks like, there. If Tyler Smith cannot go, it's Awesome Richards, TJ Bass, maybe Chuma Adoga. Tyron Smith also rolled his ankle at practice on, earlier this week at practice on Thursday. Now, that's allegedly minor as well, but it certainly is something to keep an eye out for, especially against a very dynamic Giants front. Azeez Ojulari is a very nice football player. Kayvon Thibodeau's primed for a breakout second year. Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams, A'Shawn Robinson is a really good front in what can often be a 3-4 front or a hybrid front. Maybe that's their passing down front for the Giants there with the rush designation for, outside stand-up edge rush, whatever you want to call it there. That's a good front for the Giants. It is concerning, if you are the Dallas Cowboys, how that unit fares with an offensive line that at minimum will have not played together so far this season, preseason included there, or a replacement offensive line already. So predict the score for me of the Cowboys against the Giants. It's going to be today's pinned comment. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Matchup number 2. Mike McCarthy calling plays for the first time in the game that matters as the Cowboys head coach against Don Wink Martindale. Martindale's staple, exotic blitzes. Now, historically, your quarterback has been awesome against blitzes. He has always done a great job about being able to ID them, get his players in the right spot, get the protection in the right spot, and standing strong against blitzes and against pressure. But it is a new play caller at the helm for Mike McCarthy. And I would be lying to you if I didn't have some semblance of anxiety with change. Change is change. There's always the risk of it being a negative thing for the Cowboys. Now, I think the comebacks, the curls, the hitches, those are kind of out of the playbook. Slant flats is going to replace it. You'll have two, tight end receiver, 2 receivers. Outside guy will have a slant route. Inside guy is going to run a flat route. And if you're doing your offense right, you have some double moves off of that. Whether that be a little, flatten up, if you want to call it there, which kind of is just a wheel route, basically, not from the backfield necessarily. Some sluggos mixed in there as well. Can you not, limit your offense the same way Jason Garrett used to? We'll know more after week 1. Not everything will be known, but we will know more. Matchup number 3, Dan Quinn against Mike Kafka. I have been effusive in my praise of the Giants coaching staff. I think they're really, really well coached. I think Mike Kafka is a future NFL head coach. I am a big fan of him as a play caller, and I've long loved Brian Daboll as an offensive mind as well. Now, I think Dan Quinn, if you're ranking your defensive coordinators, he's probably 2, and it might not even be 2 from that perspective. It's a good matchup for him. The Giants still don't have all of the best playmakers on offense. They do not have a clear top 10 quarterback, but the Giants coaching staff has done a fantastic job of getting more out of their players. If we were being honest about, what position groups the Giants have better than the Cowboys, maybe tight end, we'll come back to that. Can make an argument for running back with Saquon over Tony Pollard. Depth might go in favor of Dallas, but that's maybe just me being a homer. It's not receiver. It's not offensive line when healthy. It's not linebacker. It's not secondary. Defensive line, I think it absolutely is. But the Cowboys lose. Coaching is probably a big reason why. So who has the better coaching staff? DAL for the Dallas Cowboys, NYG for the New York Giants. Sound off in the comment section. Number 4 matchup, Brandon Cooks against Trey Hawkins III. The Giants think they found a gem in the 6th-round rookie out of Colorado in Trey Hawkins III, which, again, is kind of, it's Trey, whatever. You guys know what I mean there. Out of Old Dominion, not Colorado. Out of Old Dominion. I don't know why I said Colorado there. CeeDee Lamb's going to be in the slot. Gallup on the outside. Something tells me there will be plenty of matchups for Brandon Cooks against Trey Hawkins, or at least Michael Gallup against Trey Hawkins. And I am excited about Brandon Cooks being on this football team. The thing the Cowboys offense has lacked in terms of just the playmaking talent was speed. They've been a slow offense. There's been no dynamic downfield threat. Gallup can do some downfield stuff, but he's been bad the last couple seasons. Cooks still can run, and that has to be respected by the Giants defense. Matchup number 5, Jaron Kearse against Darren Waller. The Jones-Waller connection has been a constant drumbeat of praise out of Giants camp and the preseason. This is what Jaron Kearse is made to do, erase tight ends. He has been fantastic in his NFL career. And unlike last year, he's actually healthy. Jaron Kearse was never healthy last year. He was constantly banged up, battling something. That is no longer an issue right now. He is going to be healthy, and the Giants are going to try to force feed Darren Waller. How about a Kearse interception, or at least a couple incomplete passes his way? Now, you can bet on this game with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code Cowboys125 for a 125% deposit bonus. $100 down minimum gets you that deposit bonus as of filming this, knowing there's still some uncertainty around the Cowboys' offensive line. As mentioned, the Cowboys are 3.5 favorite. It's gone up. Was 3, now 3.5. We'll see if it changes beyond that. A road favorite for Dallas, a team that has not won its season opener since Mike McCarthy became their head coach. Let's talk just players to watch now. Now, we'll do this each season, and I won't always pick some of your best players. I kind of will today since it is the season opener. Number 5 is Tony Pollard. Weather might not be that great. Might try to run the football a little bit more. Pollard coming off the ankle injury. He's been good to go for a while. What does his workload look like? I wouldn't mind some big explosive runs out of Tony Pollard. Number 4, Tank Lawrence, who I will mention for every Giants game because DeMarcus Lawrence somehow turns into DeMarcus Lawrence Taylor when he's out there against the G-men. He's played 15 career games against the Giants. 45 tackles, 12 TFLs, 10 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. That is awesome production. That is like that's a Pro Bowl caliber season. And not every game has been great. There's been some that have been really, really good. So I am Evan Neal, by the way, wasn't very good last year. Now, Andrew Thomas was bad his first year, then got going in year 2 for the Giants. Now one of the best left tackles in the game. New York wants something similar for Evan Neal. How about we wait at least one game before we get Evan Neal good again? Sound good? Number 3, Stephon Gilmore. We mentioned the one acquisition time for the other one. I'm curious how the Cowboys cover Jalen Hyatt when he's out there. And Darius Slayton, too. Both those guys have dynamic downfield ability. Gilmore isn't the same speedster he once was. I don't think he's slow anymore, but I also watched Cooks beat him a few times in practices, so that's a potential red flag there. But Diggs isn't a burner either. How do you cover Hyatt, at least respect his speed, beyond just putting Malik Hooker back deep? I think Gilmore, though, as a savvy vet, is going to have some success this season. So who will be better? BC for Brandon Cooks and SG for Stephon Gilmore. Of your big acquisitions, who's going to be better? Sound off in the comments section. Number 2, Micah Parsons. And I'm not going to put Micah on every single video. That's not how we're going to do it. That's cheating. But he is your best football player. No disrespect to anybody else. This is Micah's best deal. Or this is the best player, if not non-QB in football, on this Cowboys roster, including the quarterback. I think he's going to have a massive season. Number 1, Dak Prescott, the quarterback. No more turnovers, or at least cut them down on the ones that are his fault there. The nice part is, even with the turnovers last year, he was still a borderline top 10 quarterback. Take him away, he was kind of top 5, but that's cheating. You can't do that. I've seen that argument. That's not fair as far as I'm concerned. He's been a pretty consistent top 10 guy, and he's also owned New York. He's 10-2 all-time against the Giants, 64.1% completion rate, 3,000 yards, knowing he also missed half a game with that nasty ankle injury, 23 touchdowns, 7 INTs, and I don't really believe in the whole arguments of, quarterback wins are a thing. I think it's kind of dumb. But if you're going to make the argument, as some do, not much of a better one than this. Dak has dominated the NFC East when healthy. 10-2 against the Giants, 9-2 against the Commanders, 27-7 all-time against the NFC East. Historically speaking, knowing it's a new year, your quarterback's had great success against this Giants football team. They're a better coach team. They're probably a better team overall, but that's some reason to have some confidence entering week 1. All right, who do you guys have? C for the Cowboys, G for the Giants. Get those votes in. I see C from Daniel, C from Mark, C from Sack77, C from, oh, C's. Keep the C's coming as we answer some super chats here. From Jay Smooth, is Donovan Wilson going to play Sunday night? I don't know. We will know more Friday and Saturday. You know, if Donovan can be limited Friday, that means I think he plays. If he doesn't, they might play it cautiously. Probably means some more Marquise Bell, by the way. Gangsta Big Chungus. CBS has Dallas in the Super Bowl to the Bengals, and Dak has MVP. What's y'all's thoughts? I mean, we'll be disappointed because they didn't win. That's the best year they've had in like 28 years. Wouldn't we feel better going into next year if that's the outcome? You probably extend your quarterback, extend your head coach. It's expensive, but like you'll be as close as ever. I would love to flip that result. My family full of Bengals fans might never let me live that one down, but I mean, MVP from your quarterback and Super Bowl berth. If I told you that without the outcome, I think every single person would sign up for it and say, let's see what happens in the championship game. Dwayne Jackson, do you see this Disney and charter dispute ending before week 1 starts? If not, if you had to guess, what week will it end? I have not been paying that close attention because I'm not on charter. You've dealt with Spectrum. Well, I'm not on Spectrum, so it's fine. Has it still been out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been out since since week 0, I think, of college football season.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
That is a failure.
I actually saw a commercial the other day that was anti-Disney, which I thought I'd never see.
From charter, I'm sure.
Probably.
Yeah, that's how you run it. So, hopefully it's over soon. It's bad if it's not. It's bad for the people who actually matter. Us. Oh, Disney and Charter got enough freaking money. They can stop arguing over it and give us the shit we're paying for. All right, Mark, $5. We have a slew of young, good tight ends and really good wide receivers. We have an aging O-line with injury concerns and 0 O-line depth. What does Jerry Jones do? Reach for a tight end clown show. Maybe we'd feel better if they took Osiris Torrance, who they did not like, but I don't really agree with their mindset on that front there. From Mark, this is our last year. Parsons will want Bosa money. Free agent Hankins, center next year. Receiver needs to be signed. Many players on one-year deals, and Dak this year a bust. I actually don't agree with this part. You got like 15 free agents. Actually, that's actually a very low figure of like key guys. Hankins, you drafted his replacement, Amazi Smith. Now, Parsons will want Nick Bosa money. That's $30 million. Let me do one quick thing here. I'm gonna pull up my notes here. Cap by year. I'm gonna give a good example here of how the money really tends to work. With Parsons, he wants a lot of money, and I totally understand all of that. It's fair. I get it. But let me just get my right numbers here, so I'm not doing this wrong here. Parsons is looking at $30 whatever million, getting close to where he's at in 2024. By then, the salary cap will probably be around $240 million. Now, remember when DeMarcus Lawrence signed his giant extension for around $20 million, if my memory serves me correctly. Let me get the exact number here. Where is it? Sorry, this is not great. 5 years, 105. So $21 million, right? Sign that deal in 2019. The salary cap that year was $118 million. So $21 million out of that 188.2 figure comes in around 11% of the salary cap, right? That's how the math is working there. You give, let's just say, $35 million. Let's go on the high end for Micah Parsons. You're 35. Knowing it's going to be backloaded and it's not even have the same level of impact as Micah Parsons will or as Tanks did. Let's say that salary cap is around $240 million. Looking at about a 3% difference. I don't think 3% is going to destroy you, especially with the way it will be structured, where the 35 isn't going to be felt for 3 years, and by then the salary cap might be over $300 million. I get there's the sticker shock there. The cap went up $16.6 million this year. It went up $25.7 million last year. It's going to rise. And I've also heard this is our last great year. I've heard it every year of Dak Prescott's year. Time of Dallas. Every year. Oh, it's not as good. It's not as good. It's not as good. It is a great window. Don't get me wrong. But as you pay new guys, other guys' contracts shift out. You know, the Tank deal will be off the books by the time Parsons gets paid. You know, you got to pay Tyler Smith when Zach Martin's deal comes off the book. You're paying Terrence Steele when Tyron Smith's deal comes off the books. Zeke's their deal was off the books when you're paying CeeDee Lamb. So it does even out with a rising salary cap. And you can be aggressive and push money off into the future when you actually have to rebuild. Jay Smooth, do you like Dallas's new field goal kicker? I reserve judgment until after we get some games in. How about that? Gangsta Big Chungus. I'm scared for when Stephen Jones becomes GM. Here's the thing. He already is. Whether Jerry might not admit it, Stephen's got immense power. I think Jerry didn't want to have an Al Davis situation where he had lost his mind and was senile and was calling the shots and drafting just the fastest guy. Like, Stephen is in charge. DeLunatic, Cooks and Pollard will have 40-plus touchdowns. No, they won't. I would love it. They might not even get to 20 touchdowns. That's a lot for a receiver, your number 2 receiver, and your number 1 back. I would love it, but I'm not going to get my expectations up from that perspective. Folks, if you have not already done so, please subscribe to us here at the Cowboys Report. Cowboys-Giants Week 1 watch party. That's the next time we'll be live an hour before kickoff on Sunday.